So guys, it's official. War has been declared, but not the war that you're thinking of. A war of words, and specifically about naughty words, about swearing, and some other apparently controversial. For me, they're not controversial. Swearing, the fashion that people are wearing in Formula 1, I have no problem with whatsoever. But there is one man. There's one man at the head of the FIA, the FIA president, Mohammed bin Sulayem, who very much appears to have a problem with a lot of this stuff. And the drivers have hit back via the Grand Prix Drivers Association. So there's a full article here on the F1Chronicle.com. I'm going to go into the statement they released as well, because the statement is something that's been released in the last few days as well, which I think is, great on them. Really good on them for doing this statement. They shouldn't have to, of course. I think it's farcical that Formula 1 finds itself in this position, but here we are. I can't do anything about it now. They've just got to try and fight the corner, basically, and that's exactly what they're doing. And they're doing it in the right way. So let's have a look at this, guys. Let's go through this article first on the F1Chronicle.com, then I'll get into the statement and what's in it. So, Formula 1 drivers have hit out at the sport's governing body and FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem, insisting that they want to be treated like adults. Imagine that. Bin Sulayem recently clamped down hard against the language used by the drivers, even sentencing Max Verstappen to community service and fining Charles Leclerc €10,000 for uttering the F word in a press conference. €10,000 for an F word. That is a hell of a swear jar. But in a statement put out by the GPDA on its brand new Instagram account, the drivers described themselves as the gladiators who want to be taken more seriously. They insisted there is a difference between swearing to insult others and more casual swearing, like Verstappen's reference to his inanimate Red Bull car, or Leclerc recalling a driving situation. Absolutely true. There is a big difference. They're not going out to offend anybody, they're just expressing themselves. And again, a lot of these guys, particularly the ones that learn English as a second language, will have picked up a lot of words from British engineers at some point. And even if not, does it matter? Does it really matter? They're adults. There's nothing wrong with them using that language. We urge the FIA president to also consider his own tone and language when talking to our member drivers, or indeed about them, whether in a public forum or otherwise, the drivers said. Further, our members are adults. They do not need to be given instructions via the media about matters such as trivial as wearing of jewellery or underpants. Remember that a few years ago when the FIA was like, no, you can't have like jewellery, you can't have studs, things like that. And then Sir Lewis Hamilton was like, I'm going to wear every piece of jewellery that I own. And he came to, was it Miami? I think he was Miami in 22. I could be miles off the mark there, but he just came to the race basically with like 3 watches, 15 bracelets, 3 necklaces, no stud. The man had the lot. So that really just shut the FIA up on that one, thankfully. But it's still a rule technically. It's still a rule, which I think is farcical, to be honest. Further, our members are adults. They do not to be given instruction via the media about matters as trivial as wearing jewellery or underpants. The GPDA is also asking questions about the monetary fines that are imposed upon them, calling on bin Sulayem to share the details and strategy about where the funds are spent. Dutch racing personality Tom Coronel thinks the GPDA has drawn a clear line in the sand. The message is stop this now, he told Dutch radio Slam. That's a good name for a radio station, I like that. They are saying we understand up to a point, but we are the actors and we want to partly determine the rules of the game. It is becoming a bit of a tug of war. Coronel added, I think it's important that the FIA makes a point about name calling, but I also think it's important that the drivers say this is far and no further. The rules should be determined by the FIA in consultation with the drivers, he said. That's what this is really all about. All good points, absolutely. And someone raised a very good point. I've seen a few people online raising this point, basically going over the fines, which I'm not surprised this is the case in terms of the lack of transparency when it comes to how these fines are allocated. So basically, say Charles Leclerc for his swearing fine, which is a load of rubbish, right? I can't say the word because I can't swear on YouTube and I'm going to get demonetized, is what it is. But I've played by these rules. I accept the rules. The rules of the F1 drivers have to go by, though, are just ridiculous. But yeah, when it comes to that €10,000 fine, for example, for Charles Leclerc, right? We don't know where that money's going to be spent. There is no, from what I understand, going off of quite a few different sources here, no one's come out and said, actually, they're used for this and that. I've seen nobody come back with that because I don't think anybody knows. There is a real lack of transparency when it comes to these fines. As far as we're aware, they are just in the FIA's pocket. I don't know if they are or not, but that's as far as we know. We know that they get paid, and that's it. We don't know what they get paid for. You know, someone put up a very good point saying, well, what we could do is that when we go to countries where there's a lot of underprivileged people, to be fair, every country, even countries like the UK, every country's got underprivileged people, right? People who can't afford to Grand Prix. I couldn't afford to go to a Grand Prix as a fan. I've only been able to go to the F1 as a media person because, you know, you get the ticket for free effectively at that point. I could never afford to go by myself, just as a fan. Honestly, I'd have to save up for ages for it. I'd rather go on a holiday, thanks. So, but there's a lot of people who just cannot afford to go to Grand Prix, right? And the big F1 fans. And for the countries that are developing in particular, you know, ones like Brazil, ones like Mexico, for example, and some other countries that we go to as well, I feel like we could definitely use some of that money to go and pay for VIP hospitality tickets for these people, just give them away. How much good favour would that give F1? Because a lot of people, including myself, think that Formula 1 shouldn't go to certain countries because these countries are effectively sports washing. You know, I'm not going to go into that right now, but there's a definite argument to say that. How about we use these races for good though? How about, call me crazy, how about we race as one? I know. How about we actually do what we've said we're going to do for a long time? How about we use that money to pay for these hospitality tickets for people, so the circuits don't lose out, Formula 1 doesn't lose out, and the drivers are actually using their money to go for something good, you know, with that. So, because at the moment, as far as we know, all that money is doing is going to line the pockets of the FIA. It might not be, I don't know. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard seen no evidence that goes against that statement. It could well be the case, and if it is a really, really sad state of affairs, to be honest. It's embarrassing from the FIA. So the GPDA have effectively laid down the gauntlet. Will Formula 1 and the FIA actually pick this gauntlet up? Will they take on the challenge? We'll have to wait and see, guys, but we'll be here to cover it on the F1 Chronicle as always when we get some more news about this, because for me, the GPDA have absolutely done the right thing. Good for them. As the Rest Development meme always says, good for them, right? Good for them. So yeah, I'm happy they've done this. It's a sad state of affairs that they're having to do this, but they're putting their line in the sand now, and it's up to the FIA and Sulayem to respond. And when they do, like I said, we'll be here for it. So yeah, let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments below, guys. How much of a load of rubbish is this swearing ban? It's already gone too far. Verstappen and Leclerc are being fined and given community service like criminals for swearing, for using an F word. Load of rubbish. But yeah, we'll see you soon for some more F1 content here on the F1Chronicle.com, guys. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.